This is a documentary of my family's recipes and history. My grandmother raised and fed 13 children in a small apartment in public housing on the west side of San Antonio. My grandfather was disabled and my grandmother was a homemaker. So they were very poor and often relied on government assistance for food and shelter. Nonetheless, my grandmother always made sure her children were clean, fed, and well cared for. This is my mom sharing her mother's tortilla recipe with my daughter.
We are making flour tortillas. And I want to tell you that when I was 9 years old, I began making flour tortillas in my home for my entire family. So I'm not sure that this is 5 pounds, but we received our food in 5-pound bags. The flour came in 5-pound bags. And we made an entire 5-pound bag. Whenever I made tortillas, that's what I made. We're only doing 2 cups today, 2 cups of flour. So measure the flour in here and just dump it in, please. Put it into the bowl and give me the cup because we're going to measure 1.5 cups of water. It's important to add the dry ingredients together, but not necessarily the salt. This definitely has to go into this, not into the water. But we're going to put the salt in the water just to make it easier. I'll explain in a minute why.
Baking powder.
This is baking powder, and this is to make them a little fluffy. And my measuring is usually on my hand. I'm using the spoon to help you visualize, and I use a teaspoon. And to me, that looks like a teaspoon. But you can measure whenever you decide to make your own to make sure that you're getting the consistency that you want in the measurements, because this is 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of the baking powder. If you add too much baking powder, they tend to get bitter. Tortillas don't need a lot of rising, just a little bit. Now the salt, like I said, this is not fine grind, and because it's not fine grind, you don't measure it the way you would measure the fine grind. And I don't want to add this into the flour because it's kind of a thicker grind, but we want little more than a teaspoon of salt. And go ahead and dissolve it, just so that we know that, and it's probably, like I said, too much salt for this, but we're not going to use all the water, so it'll work. Okay, and that's it. You've got it. It'll continue dissolving in there. We're going to put this into the dry ingredients, but first, kind of mix it, even with your hands. Just mix this into the flour, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you what the measurement that I would use for 2 cups of flour is about 1/5 of this. And in terms of measurements, if you want to use a measuring spoon, I think it's like 2 fat tablespoons. That to me looks like 2 tablespoons.
That makes sense.
Okay. Now, yeah, this you're going to mix. Pretend that you're making biscuits, and mix it to where it crumbles into the, when you mix the fat, which this is what that is, whether it's oil, this shortening, butter, because you can use all of those ingredients in your tortillas. You can even use yogurt, Greek yogurt, instead of this. What you do is that you mix it so that you get almost like a crumbly feel to the entire bowl of the flour. All of it has to feel the same. Okay. So you keep mixing until it looks almost like a sand. No more of this powdery. When I was a little girl, this is used. At the time I was a teenager, in our case, we used what was available. And what was available, and for some reason cheaper, was the shortening. So we started using the shortening. Okay, so we're going to start adding the water. And what you want to do is start mixing it and forming a dough to make into a ball. So I'm going to start drizzling in the water, and you keep mixing just like you're doing, but kind of bring it into a ball. Okay. So if you can imagine, when I was a little girl, I didn't have anyone even teaching me. I had watched my mother. And so I had to kind of gauge the moisture and all of the things that you're doing on my own.
Mhm.
How to bring all that together and, just bring it to a point where I felt that it looked, I'm going to add more water on this side. So let's turn your bowl just to make it easier for you. But if you can see dry patches, well, then you need to moisturize that so that you have a little bit more consistency and more pliable and feels more like you're bringing it all together. Get all that water into the same spot. It looks to me a little dry, but I can't tell. So if you let me put my hands in there,
Yeah.
I will tell you. Yes. You don't want it to feel so dry that it breaks apart. You're trying to make it come together, okay? Because all of it is what we measured and you need it so that you have the consistency of the dough that you want. It still feels a tiny bit dry. You see how it's breaking apart?
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a little sprinkle. Watch. Leave it alone. A little sprinkle on it, on the outside, and just incorporate that in there and then start that again. Again, now you're at this point where you're literally doing the kneading, right? And this is what you're doing in the kneading. Let me get this out of the way. So in kneading the dough, you're pulling it up and in like this. And you're kind of working it into itself so that it becomes one mass. Okay, so that in the end you have one thing, but it takes doing that. Literally pushing your weight into it like that. I want you to start doing it, and as you're doing it, you're going to feel that it's sticky and moist, and we're trying to get it to where it feels drier and smooth. So start doing what I was doing. Put your weight into it, pull it up and into itself. Yeah, just like that. And pick it up and turn it so that, so that you're doing all of it. When growing up, this was a daily thing. It was something that we did at every meal. It wasn't just for dinner. It was even breakfast, because if we were making tortillas for tacos, or if we were going to have a breakfast where it was a plate of food and we wanted tortillas, we had to have fresh tortillas. And so that is the reason that in the evening we made an entire 5-pound bag. First of all, because there were so many of us. But if we had leftover tortillas, those were going to be either for breakfast or even for a lunch, for someone to take a lunch in tortillas. But it's nice and soft, right? It's not, doesn't feel stiff.
No.
Okay.
How much do you think this will make? Like 2?
No, you're going to make quite a few. You'll see.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you'll see. We're going to let it rest, not for a very long time, but you'll see. Okay, let me try to pull it apart, because this is what we're going to do. Yeah, I think it's good. But I'm not going to pull it apart. Like I said, we're just going to let it rest for a little while. Okay, so now that it has gotten to that point where it feels the way that I'm familiar with, the texture, the smoothness, all of that, you're going to want to create this circular, I wouldn't even call it a ball, but it's just a piece of the dough that feels round and smooth. And if you pay attention to what I'm doing with my fingers, I'm kind of pushing the edge of the dough into itself and turning it to form that little, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what you're trying to achieve, a little patty looking portion of the dough. Okay, do you want to try that while I'm doing it so that you can watch me? And I just go by feel. That to me feels like that's the right amount.
Okay, should I get some?
Go ahead.
Okay. Is this good?
It really doesn't matter. It could even be bigger.
Yeah, can I make a bigger one?
Yes, that's fine. Whatever feels comfortable in your hand, okay? And that's going to make a big tortilla, okay? Because what you're doing is, like I said, just keep turning it and pushing it again into the palm of your hand with your fingertips, not your nails,
Mhm.
and turning it so that you're forming a round circular portion of the dough. This just a tiny bit of flour, just a little dust, so that when you start rolling them out, they don't stick to the surface. Okay?
Okay.
We made a big stack of tortillas, so you couldn't possibly do what I'm going to tell you to do. We had to have them near the fire so that as we were making them, they were being cooked. But I'm going to teach you what I learned to do when I made a little bit of tortillas, and it's helpful because you're going to kind of stretch them all out, and then we can go and cook them. Okay?
Wait.
Okay. So we're going to start rolling them out, and you always start with the first one, because what happens is that they've been sitting there and the air hits the dough and it gets to a certain point where it dries out. So we start with the very first one and watch. You can use the rolling pin however it feels comfortable to you. The rolling pin on this, you see how it moves on its own? It's turning on its own, and you just put the pressure on and it does the work. As a child, we didn't have rolling pins. We used whatever round surface board we could find. At times, it was even a broom handles. And as you see, I'm turning it to achieve a round tortilla. Something that I learned from my grandmother. My mother was not as picky. She wanted them fast and she wanted a lot. And so she would tell us, they're not going to roll down your throat. It really doesn't matter what they look like.
Yeah.
So just get them to the point that they're going to cook quickly and you're not going to wind up with a thick tortilla, because that is not what you want. You want something that's soft and thin and pliable, and my mom would always say, and not too big. So that was the size of the tortilla. That they're a little thicker now just because they've been sitting. That's okay. And you lay it not like this, but like this, away from you. Not, you saw I brought it this way. You don't do that. Lay it away from you and just let it sit for a while. You see the bubbles coming up?
Mhm.
They're just barely coming up. I think I turned it down too much because you want it to bubble almost immediately. Okay? And the reason is that you want it to cook to the right consistency all the way around. And you don't have like part of it raw, it's going to be all bubbling at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay? Did you see the bubbles?
Yeah.
To me, it feels like it's time to turn it. Might not be. You can use a spatula. Go ahead. And just flip it. See, it's not quite to that point, but it's okay because you can flip it again. And it still needs to be hotter. I think we had it at the perfect temperature.
Oh,
okay. Like I said, it needs to be really hot because you're not warming tortillas. These are literally being cooked. And when they're raw, you need the heat to be just right. Okay? So this is how I turn tortillas. Just like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Put some butter on it. Watch.
Just rub it?
Yeah, just rub it on there, just like that. And then just fold it in half. Just like that. This tortilla is going to be really hot in your hand, but if you'll notice, it's very different. The way that it feels in your hand is not like this stiff.
Yeah.
And that's because it wasn't sitting there drying out. You understand? Yeah. You see that? This is what you want in a tortilla. You want it to be flexible like that. When you get a taco, right, you can even roll it. And that's what you want. That is what you want. Whereas with the dry one, you wind up with almost like I said, like a biscuit. It still tastes good. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is what you want. That pliable tortilla.
This is my mom teaching me my grandmother's recipe of albóndigas. We're making albondigas. And we're putting in 2 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of beef. Can you see the meat? And how much rice? And
And
about
we're going to use about a half a cup of rice, and that's half of what you have in there. So once you get half of it in there, get rid of the bag. We talked about putting in herbs. Did you decide we're going to go get it later? What are we going to do?
spices
Yeah,
and,
and herbs.
Herbs, yes. We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna get the herbs.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
So go ahead and put in the dry herbs that you're going to use in here.
So
with
this
garlic,
is garlic salt.
garlic, and it already has salt. Are you going to add?
No, I'm not gonna add salt.
Okay.
Just the garlic
The
salt.
garlic is fine. You're going to have
How much?
I would say about a tablespoon, and that looks more like a teaspoon. Okay, because that's both the salt and the garlic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is
Comino.
comino, and you don't want a lot of that, so
just like sprinkle
a teaspoon,
little.
a teaspoonful. So put it in your hand. Okay, a little more.
Sorry.
You can add a little more.
I don't like a lot of comino.
No, not in albondigas.
Okay. What do we need?
I think that you're going to have to use
All of it or most of it?
What? Yeah, almost all of it. Go ahead and hand it to me, and I can tell
By holding
once you're done. I'll tell you. I'll keep cutting, and I'll tell you when. Cut these tall ones over here.
These long ones.
The ones right in the middle.
Here.
You see the ones that are in the middle? Those. And the one way over there, and I think that should do it.
This one?
And that should be enough.
Okay, so, oops. 1, 2 cloves of garlic.
Right.
And then you want me to chop up the...
These are going to be chopped and just as fine as you can. They don't literally have to be too small. And chop it up finely.
We're not putting this in there.
No.
Oh,
just
okay.
This.
Okay, show what the.
You're going to put all of that into the meat. And if you want to make sure you get everything out, grab your rice and put it in there, and it'll rub it off. That's how you clean these anyway. When you want to clean them, you clean them with rice.
Okay, what else?
Now you mix that in there, and honestly, I think that's basically what you were going to add to the actual albondiga. Am I correct? Or unless you wanted to add more seasoning of any kind.
I'm just doing it however you tell me to do it. I don't know.
Well, in this case, because it's 2 pounds, I'm thinking it might need a little extra salt.
Okay.
You didn't use regular salt. You used garlic salt. You want to use that again?
Yeah, I'll use
Okay,
garlic
then
salt
let
again.
me.
I like garlic, so
Okay.
plenty of garlic.
So let's do a little more salt because I'm looking at the amount of meat and it looks to me like it's going to need
Not too
more
much,
salt.
because that stuff is really salty.
I know it's very salty. See, that's maybe a teaspoon.
Okay.
And remember that when you cook them, you're going to be adding vegetables. You're going to add potatoes.
Yeah.
You're going to add tomatoes and onions, and all of those
are going to need
to pull the salt.
Okay.
So that's
so we don't add salt to the sauce.
You'll taste it, and you can add it to taste.
Okay.
That's something you can taste. You cannot taste this, so that's why I'm trying to be a little generous.
Okay.
Because you're going to have that.
Okay.
I never used that.
So potato.
Yeah. So that's why
I wanted to add potato just to make it go further.
Yes, but it's also just a different recipe.
Okay. So what do I do now?
Now you're going to start forming the balls, and make sure that you did mix the rice evenly throughout the 2 pounds.
It is.
Okay, and then just take the whatever size you want.
I think like this.
Okay. In my hand, it's smaller, see? But yeah, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. Okay. So go ahead and make the albondigas and just set them aside. even in the same bowl or on the cutting board.
Okay, so the next ingredient for this is the sauce.
Right, because
And
that's going to be the soup. It's almost a soup, right? So you're making the sauce that's a base for a soup. You're going to add the vegetables and the meatballs.
and what am I adding?
And the sauce is just the tomato, onion, garlic, and you do want to salt it.
And I'm doing half of an onion,
Right, half of an
one
onion
clove of garlic,
Right, 1 clove of garlic, and I think that's 2 pounds of tomatoes. It looks to me like 2 pounds of tomatoes. But you can do that to your liking. You can make it with more tomato, with more onion, with more garlic, whatever taste you want to achieve. The process is just
and I'm
to
just
make a salsa.
making chunky cuts because I'm going to blend everything
Right,
in the
you will
blender.
throw everything in the blender.
Okay, that's it, Sophia. All right, so we're adding 1 tablespoon of bouillon and to 2 cups of water. And then we're about to put the sauce in. We're going to warm this up, and then we're going to add the sauce. Okay.
Now we're going to start making the sauce, so go ahead and pour the tomato in here.
Mom, can you pull that thing out?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll get it. And you can
Put the water in there.
add the broth, the chicken broth. You want to add it in here?
Sure. I'll do it. Okay.
And then we're going to add the meatballs. And you can start adding them. Drop them into the bowl, into the pot, rather.
Even before it starts boiling?
It's okay because they're going to continue cooking with the rest of the food, so it doesn't have to be boiling yet.
Okay.